the amazing Natasha Jonas. She's got so many topics she can speak about, obviously, and Joe's just spoke about most of it for us, so we don't need to talk about half of it. But go back to a lot of the things that Joe's obviously just touched on, and see if it's the same from your opinion, from obviously your side. You've seen it from the male sort of trader looking in, from your side as a female boxer, and also all of your coming through. Obviously, you did football, then like Melissa said earlier before you come on the call, Tash, Melissa talked a lot about how you boxed in the Olympics, but you couldn't really turn pro then because there was no pro ranks for you to go into. So you obviously stayed amateur. And so, yeah, just your little life story and all of the troubles that you've come across with it.
Oh gosh, yeah, thanks. I didn't really know what to speak about, to be honest. But yeah, obviously, young girl growing up in Toxteth, Liverpool, the quickest, cheapest, you got two older boy cousins to do is to go and get a 99p football and play for hours, and that's what we did. Always loved sports, and I've done about 105 different ones, from netball to, so I do love netball as well, Kate. Netball, rounders, athletics, track, field, everything. But ultimately, football was the one that captured me first. Got quite successful at it. Managed to, get a scholarship and go abroad with it. And yet got injured doing it. So, sorry, my computer's asking for a different language. When I came home, it was a case of, picking myself up and finding another sport. I'd lost a whole group of friends, and the kind of motivation since a baby, sport has really been my driving force and motivation to do anything. I have always, everything in our family life is a competition. How quick you can run to the shop for your nan, how quick you can get up the stairs, if you can beat your cousin in an arm wrestle, everything is like that. And my mum and dad were no different. If I beat my mum, I had to beat her. She didn't just let me win, and I'm the actual same with my little girl. So, when that final first win comes, you've earned it, and that drive and determination, and has been in me from young, and they instilled that. They supported me throughout, and still do now. I call her the baby. She'll always be the baby, but she's 8. I don't think I would be able to be the athlete that I am now without them, because there is a lot of time I need to spend away from home, and sometimes as athletes we have to be selfish, and that's there's not a problem with that, because you have to be. It's your experience and journey, but it doesn't always fit well with mum life. And I think from a male perspective, I remember when I first turned pro, and there was a big hoo-ha about me being a mum that boxed. But at the same time, Tom Stalker had turned pro like a couple of years before me, and he's got like 5 kids, and no one blinked an eyelid. But it was a big thing that now all of a sudden I was a mum and I was coming back to boxing, and there was a big thing. And I think the values and ideology of everybody else was that the baby was going to be like a hindrance. But I totally didn't see it like that at all. If anything, I feel like she's my motivation to do better and be better, because I wanted to see me being successful, and I wanted to see me having goals and achieving them goals. And not only through me, I'm lucky enough that she gets to experience that through Nikita Paris as well, who's my sister. So, if you ask her who her favourite football player is, she'll say her auntie. And she's very proud of that. But yeah, going back to what I said, it's not, she motivates me. And the biggest difference as a parent and as a mum now that I've seen from amateur to professional is that mentally, as an amateur, everything's a target. For amateur and pros, a target. You've got to win every fight. That's the aim. That's the game. But if I'd lost, if I had a bad spar, and Joe will back me up on this, it would wreck my whole week and my whole mentality until the next time to get it right. And I was so like, I used to come home sometimes on a Thursday because GB was Monday to Thursday, spend the weekend at home, go back Monday, and my whole weekend I'd be thinking about that one bad spa that I had, and it would wreck the weekend until the Monday that I had to go back, and I'd be trying to put it right. And but now as a pro, Joe, I give myself so many bad spas, but also the baby allows me to have that switch off as she puts things into perspective. I assume she knows when a certain hairstyle comes out, she's like, oh, here she is, Miss GB. Miss GB has entered the room, and when I open the door to the house, I'm just back to being Tasha and being mum, because that's who she needs me to be. And I get that mental switch off now that I didn't get before. So and there's also physiological effects of after pregnancy that women, it's a proven science now that women can become stronger. And that's, as athletes, any gain is a gain. If that one, but it's all about them little 1%. So every camp you want to improve and you want to get time, you want to get stronger. That's the whole point. But motherhood can help you. So don't let that anybody tell you that it's a hindrance. If anything, it's a bit more motivational. As for pay, I suppose for Joe, when I was very fortunate to, one, be able to work with Joe, but also be able to be a part of the success of Gallagher's. So he knew, what the others were getting, and when I say the others, I mean the other lads, and even that differs. So it's not just a thing about male and female in boxing. Anthony Joshua, Sonny Edwards would probably never ever see a payday that Anthony Joshua gets. So it's still, but I think sometimes the problem is, or I see the problem is that you can go back on some of the things. Now I've been with Matchroom, so I'm going to quote Eddie here, but even with Ben and stuff, like sometimes I've been the biggest ticket seller. I've not headlined. I've you know I've more than paid my worth for that odd, but that's not reflected in my pay, and I think that's what Joe was trying to get at before. There's lots of times when myself, Terry Harper, even Katie Taylor's a bit of a different entity because she's got the whole backing of Ireland, so we can't really compare ourselves to Katie. But there's times when we've been the best ticket sellers on the day, and it's not reflected in our pay. There's times we have literally only on Monday been told that mine and Michaela Myers fight had a bigger audience than Boatsi Aziz. But I don't know the figures, but I'm pretty sure they would have got paid more than we did. And that's the part that's not fair. You're talking about from a business perspective. Okay, it's a little bit different in football with the Premier League and the money they get and whatever. But in boxing, we are still creating them numbers. We are still outperforming men in so many areas, or at least some of us are, but it's not reflecting in our pay. And the argument is, we don't sell as much lie. People don't watch as much lie. We don't. So we are trying to slowly break down that, and listen, we are in a good position in boxing where if you listen to Jane Couch and some of her experiences, and she sold like £70,000 worth of tickets and got paid 300 quid. We have come a long way since then. The fact that we're on cards, the fact that we're headlining, the fact that we're moving up them tables now. We used to be like the bit of tokenism at the end of the table, where okay, there's a woman on and we'll speak to her. Now we're moving up and we are sitting on them heads of table. So that is all a positive forward step. But we still do have a long way to go when we're talking about even just the business side of it. Yeah, so I don't know what else to say.
No, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that. I know you're all going to have lots of questions for Natasha, so I'm going to go over first to her mum and daughter, because I've already messaged them, and her mum's looking at her going, no. And Mila's going to speak. Take yourself off mute.
Oh gosh, I don't know what she's going to say.
Your mum can't unmute you, so you're all right.
Oh, who? Even better. She's got me little niece down there, so she'll be trying to get my niece to do it.
She's worse than me. Oh, she's doing it on purpose so that Mila can't speak. Right, we'll come back to you as to when you figured out how to do it. Right, anybody else got a question for Natasha? Melissa, yep, go ahead.
Hi, so great to see you, Tash. So much of what you're saying resonates with what I've been charting in terms of the sport, and since I first started writing about it in 2010 and in my books. But where do you see the future? I mean, and that's, I know that you've hit these extraordinary heights in British boxing, and in global women's boxing, and you're a remarkable person in terms of being a role model for young fighters coming into the game. But what is your sense of where this goes even 5 years from now? Because there's just been so much change in 5 years ago. You know, if you look at where the sport was in 2018, even 2019, just before we hit the COVID years, to now, there's an extraordinary difference. And what do you think the opportunities are from your perspective 5 years from now?
Look, from when I started in boxing, we're talking almost 20 years ago, we had one national championships, and there was a novice and an open class. And if you didn't choose the open class, you probably wouldn't box. So everyone just went in the open class, and there was a female category. You were lucky to have a fight. I was never that lucky, but you were lucky to get a fight. And now, you know, the Olympics and everything else, you know, for a very long time, I was the only female in the gym. We now have a thriving female, and like Joe said, even his academies are full of successful girls and young females coming through. There's a schoolgirl category, novice open, and there's a junior category. There's a, you know, a senior category, which now has the novice, intermediate, and open class. You look at the even from 2012 to 2016, the increase in classes for the Olympics. There was only 3 when we started. Now there's 5. I think that obviously there's issues about it being taken out. Hopefully that will not happen, because I think it'll be disastrous for amateur sport on a whole, amateur boxing on a whole. Hopefully they'll increase the female classes as well for that. And the biggest change is that there wasn't even an opportunity for me leaving in 2015 to turn pro. Like, you couldn't make a solid living. You could be a pro, obviously. Like I said before, Jane had broken down that door, but you know, you're still working. It'd be a hobby more than making a living from it. And now, you know, you can do. The opportunity is there if you're good enough, and the opportunity arises, because, you know, there's so many great people that aren't on TV. There's so many great female fighters that don't make the TV. But, and like Joe said before, it took that 2012 law and 2016 to turn over. Then we got the 2020 law. Then we'll get the 2024 law. It's only going to get better. And all that argument of, you know, there's no death from women, eventually that's going to disperse as well, because women will have the options, and the same like the lads do. Maybe the ones that don't make that GB level or that elite level will learn on the job and get in early and get the experience and be like an apprenticeship, working their way through the boxing ranks. So I think the level will improve. Even when I go to the national championships now, the level of boxing has improved massively. I think that will only get better. like I say, the talent and the props will keep coming, which will make the depth in the sport that people maybe have the argument for now. So it is very positive. And there's so many different types of people and types of females and attitudes and personalities. You know, sometimes we get, because we are the females and because we are a grown sport, we kind of want it to be a certain way, and we don't like that there's certain types of females or whatever, how they present themselves. But I think, you know, no one says that in things when the men do it, so we're only hindering ourselves. It's great to have different personalities and, you know, different characters within the sport. That's what makes it, we are an entertainment sport, that's what makes it entertaining. So yeah, I think it'll only get better. I think we're in a great era, and we're riding the crest of a wave. And once you've got that, you know, that wave, you've got to keep riding it, like we did with, you know, netball, like we did with rugby, like we did with cricket, like we did with the football. We have got that time in boxing, and we've got to keep riding it.
Brilliant, well said. Kate wants to ask a question, but she's conscious that she's asking all the questions. So she said, if anybody else wants to ask one first, Emma, we'll go to you, Emma.
You knew I was going for this one as well. Yeah, hi, Tasha. Just want to say thank you. You are an absolute massive inspiration of mine. I can relate to a lot of what you were saying about the kind of feeling like you've got to be selfish a little bit, and I struggled a lot with that. Yeah, I could ask a million questions, but I think the number one for me is kind of, when you're in camp, have you ever struggled with your mindset and keeping it in a positive mindset? And if you have, how have you kind of managed that? Have you got any advice?
Yeah, I don't even have to be in camp to struggle with my mindset. Me and Joe have such a good back and forth with different things, and I'm always like developing I still don't know myself. Like I said, I'm nearly 20 years deep in this game, and I'm still working out how I work, and how my mindset works, because, like, you know, this game is like 90% mental. Every single camp I get a new book, that it could be just one sentence from that book that I take, but it further helps me. Some theories and stuff. Like, I read the Chin Paradox a couple of camps ago, and I was like, bits of it I like, and others. Then I read Relentless by Tim Grover, and then there was like little sections in that book that I thought, and then just loads of different books that I read, but like I say, yeah, they just help me learn about myself. I don't think you should ever stop learning about yourself and about your mind, because it's the most powerful tool that you have. Did you ask me how I deal with the downtimes? Is that what you said? Sorry, I
Yeah,
forgot.
like how you kind of overcome it and kind of turn it back around from like thinking of the negative and trying to focus on, right, this is excitement, rather than, because it's excitement and fear is a very similar feeling, I suppose, and it's kind of trying to get it to that excitement and thinking, right, this is excitement for this fight, rather than, wow, I'm going to get in that ring and get.
So what's a little? Sorry, what was you going to say then?
And I was saying, it's just turning it around, and the best way how you deal with that.
Like I said, I give myself so many bad spars, and like I go away and I work that out, why it went wrong, and how I'm going to fix it for the next time. And I try not to. I try my best to just stay in the moment. So I don't worry about kind of what's been, and I'm not worried about really what's coming. I just try and stay very, very present. I write lots of things down, and I never ever show anyone, but it's just so I've got it. And, you know, sometimes when you write stuff down, it makes you feel better. But what's funny about what you said is, like, I done an interview with the Ring magazine, and one of the questions he asked me was, how do you feel just before you're about to walk out? And I said, do you want the honest answer or do you want the lie? And he said, no, I want the honest answer. I said, if someone opened the door and said, you can run out now and you wouldn't have to come back, like, I'd do it. And he said, it's so weird that you said that, because he'd interviewed Amanda Serrano and I think Michaela Meyer before me, and they said the same thing. So everyone has that fear, and experience will get you into them optimal levels of, you know, if you're too relaxed, which Joel will say sometimes that I've been, and it takes me a round or two to get into it, then it's not good for your performance. But then, because you've got to build up that, you know, them levels. But then if you're over them optimal levels, that makes you anxious, and you've already burnt a lot of calories, mentally drained and fearful before you. But a lot of it is just experience and learning about yourself. And not forgetting to switch off. It's okay not to think about your sport and be consumed by it. Which is like I say, like, now I just, you know, I leave the gym, I literally shut the door, and I'm no longer Miss GB, I'm just Tasha. And it's okay to do that as well. And it's human nature will let you focus on the bad things. There's so many times on Twitter or whatever that, you know, you're reading through comments, you're great, you're brilliant, you're you know, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're amazing, you're crap, you're amazing, you're amazing. You go, who said I was crap? And your human nature just focuses on that one bad thing. And, you know, the social media is a great thing and a great tool, but it also can be like a very negative space. And it's okay to give yourself breaks from that too. You don't have to engage with anyone that you don't want to, and that's okay.
Love that. Thank you. It's really helpful.
Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Tash. Kate, Craig's put his hand up. Is he allowed to push in front of you?
Go on, Craig. Yeah, you can.
Thanks, Kate. Hi, Natasha. So we help grassroots athletes and all the way to professional athletes around what Emma's just discussed and what you've kind of just discussed around mental well-being, mental health, mindset, etc. And I don't know the answer to this question. Is there support? I'm sure there is at your level. I don't know, going down the ranks. Is there support for women in boxing around mental health, mindset, psychology, performance, out of curiosity?
So at the elite level of amateur boxing, when you're on them GB squads and stuff, you've got access to so many, yes, so you've got the access to, you know, some of the most best trained people that are there and are funded through Sport England and whatever. Professionally, you'd think we would, but we don't. A lot of it you have to source yourself. We are the most important part of the puzzle as athletes, but we are the least supported. And Joel back me up and be a testament to that. Whether that's, you know, promoters, whether that's managers, where, you know, we are the least supported in any outfit. There's no support mentally, physically, emotionally. You know, we don't have any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Pension. We don't have any type of insurance protection, and we do with the board up until, but to actually access that money is virtually impossible to do. So you know, so and we lack, and that's probably why, you know, we see examples of, you know, professional athletes that do negative stuff when they come out of the game, because they don't know how to chase the high. Being an athlete is a drug in itself. You're chasing that fear, fight, flight thing that you get just before you go into the ring. That's the adrenaline rush. We're adrenaline junkies. That's what we're addicted to. When that goes, for whatever reason, it's very, very hard to replace positively. And that's why you see so like that we've had examples of people falling by the wayside, because, you know, it's a big boxing, the big big void to fill once it goes.
From my point of view, Lindsay, I'd just like to extend my support to that be grassroots all the way up to professional athletes, because we're currently doing that outside of female boxing. And my company has a mission statement called Together Improve Lives and Make a Difference. And part of that is improving psychology performance in athletes and younger women from primary school right the way up to any other professional profession, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'll drop that in, Lindsay.
Yeah, no, brilliant. Yeah, we've obviously got a meeting set up, so we'll do that. Yeah, and just touching on that, we'll go on to Rosie in a sec. I've seen your hand. Yeah, just touching on that.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, in terms of what, like Tash said, and having nothing there, it's the same across the board for the guys as well. But one of the things we're setting up women in boxing, it is that, obviously I've worked, not as an athlete, but I've worked as a female in boxing for 26 years. And there is nothing, so this is like, in a lot of companies when you work, there's an HR or there's this, or even in football, they've got the PFA. In boxing, who do you go to? You can't go to anybody. You've got nobody. And then it's an individual sport. So as much as it's a team thing in the gym, it's an individual. So you're your own person. So you might be in the gym and you're part of obviously Gallagher's and Boxer and everything. But then because you're an individual, you might next week be part of Ronnie Tucker's gym. I mean, you might be part of Matchroom or whatever. So it's not always the same thing. So women in boxing is like, it's an initiative and it's a collaborative of everybody coming together. And if it was in the corporate world, it'd be called a union. And I don't want to call it a union because I'm not trying to do that. But what it is it's an absolute collective for males and females, amateur, pros, or just working in the industry. And we've said, obviously, from grassroots and after the ropes, because like you just said as well, when you're not being an athlete anymore, what do you do? And a lot of them haven't got anywhere to go because they haven't got anything else. Like Tasha's got a million things and she's now into obviously the media and she's an amazing presenter. Rhiannon, oh my goodness, I didn't know all that other side of you, Rhiannon, and what you've got to go into. So that's amazing. A lot of people haven't got it. So obviously we're trying to do the career pathways as well, getting women into more officiating, get them into training so they become trainers, managers, and it's all that other side of it. But yeah, we're definitely going to work with Craig and do offer some other things as well. Sorry, I'm going to just move on to Rose.
Just to add to that. So I do work with not only a sports psychologist but a spiritualist as well. So I do it personally, but it's something that I source myself. So yeah, so I do, but not everyone does, like Lindsay said. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. I'd be into something like that if I were an athlete. I need to do it without being an athlete. Go ahead, Rosie.
Thank you, Lindsay. Hi, Natasha. My question is, you mentioned about that feeling, and I guess I'd like to know sort of how you stay motivated to sort of retain that consistency, because I think it's the same in business, but definitely with athletes it's all about that consistency. And I think sometimes when you feel really demotivated, it's really hard to maintain that consistency. So I just wondered how you do that on a day-to-day basis.
I find, like I say, I'm always learning about myself, but obviously the baby's the biggest motivator. But it's what I expect of me, it's the standard that I expect of myself. I always believe, no matter what I do, that I always give 100%. So if I'm not going to give 100%, there's no point in turning up. And everyone has rubbish days and crap days, and for whatever reason the day hasn't gone well. But showing up is a big one. And once you've gone there, like, you just may as well do it to the best that you can do that day. You might not feel 100%, but you can still give 100% of what you've got that day. And yeah, it's just consistency is key. I think, but just showing up and turning up and doing the best that you can deliver on that day. I hope does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely, it does, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Rosie. Kate, over to you, and then everybody, if you want to put your cameras on, we are going to wrap up. So we're going to open up the Q&A to any of our guests that have been on today. So if you've got any questions about any of the subjects to any of our speakers, the field's going to be open. Kate, your last question for Tash.
It's the benefit of going last when other people have asked questions, they start to take a bit of your question. So it lines up. I'm into the universe as well, Natasha. So the thing for me, I think, around sort of females and the pay and the equality side, and some of the stories that I've read and the choices that people have got to make after when it comes to sort of retirement, is that not everyone can be a pundit in their field. So for me, I think where the pay aspect is really key is not only, as you say, you're getting the crowds in, and it's the equality and it's deserved. It's around what comes after a career. So we talk about a lot of going into the pro aspect of it, but I think for me as well, around career transition, because if you are making a lot of money in your sport, then we see it a lot with footballers, don't we? They've got property developments, they've got investment portfolios, and then it sets them up that if they don't make it into punditry, then they do have options, going forward in life. They've got pensions, etc. And I think that's one of the key aspects for me when it comes to female athletes, and why we need a big push on the pay side of things, is because I don't think there's enough done around career transition. So as I said before, we see it a lot in the military, where we know that you maybe come out of the military and you might be in your 30s, might be in your 40s. There's a lot of support and programs around that transition. What is this, what are they going to do next? Again, a lot of transferable skills. I don't necessarily think that everybody knows which pathway to take. So it goes on the back of Craig's question. It goes on the back of Lindsay talk about women in boxing. But my question to you, Natasha, really was, from sort of your peers, is that a concern when you're coming up to retirement of what next? Because maybe the finances aren't in place that, not you personally, but other athletes maybe haven't had the ability to earn enough to not do anything or to follow their passion as such.
Yeah, definitely. I think, it is always a big worry, which is why Joe is always on everyone's case to get me as much money as possible, whether they like him or not. And it is because I'm very late at retiring, potentially at 40. But this is, like you said, money that's got to kind of last you and create you out, at least until you can go into and find a job. I think for you, when you're there at the moment, you've got it like 1 foot in and 1 foot out of what you're gonna do. Do you know what? I forgot your question. Sorry. Repeat it again.
Is there enough? I like the answer anyway, but is there enough support around? Is it a concern of athletes, and actually, do athletes know where to turn? And it's not, I suppose, just for women in boxing. I think it's women in a lot of sports. Netball for one, they don't get paid enough maybe to just not do anything after. But not everyone can go into coaching. Not everybody can be that pundit. So are there initiatives? I know women in boxing are plugging it, but is there a go-to place, or do you think that there does need that more support when it comes to transition of careers?
There definitely isn't enough support, but I do know of things like the Dame Kelly Holmes Trust. They do a lot of work with athletes transitioning, and I've actually done work with them as I retired from the amateurs and before I came a pro. Sky Sports used to have a brilliant with the youth. It was in conjunction with the Youth Sport Trust, and the Youth Sport Trust still do stuff and have athlete mentors that visit schools and do programs, so they're good. But Sky used to have a brilliant one called Living for Sport, but it's stopped now. But that was brilliant as well. But yeah, there's definitely not enough, and I think the biggest, I talked before about chasing the high and that transition as an athlete, but one of the biggest things that I think most athletes struggle with is the loss of identity. You've always been, Tasha the boxer, whoever the Nikita the footballer, and when that goes, that's the bit that you struggle with, because you're no longer that person. You have to find out who you are. And I think there needs to be more of that before you even enter the maybe retirement stage, because it's just the fact that we're not going to be athletes forever. But you know, you've got to learn to live with you before. And I am very fortunate, but I've also created a lot of opportunities for myself. I do sit on parliamentary groups for boxing and for females in sport. I do community programs within Liverpool. I'm involved in so many schools in the local area. Mum, then your mute on.
I learned how to do it, so I was just.
Now we can hear you. So yeah, you've got to take them opportunities when they come along and keep, you know, I'm not very well educated. I'm not academic in the slightest, but I've got myself in positions where I'm sitting with academics and that's, you know, just by taking opportunities when they come. And I did have a bit of, you know, fear and what's the word called, of inferiority thing, where I didn't feel like I belong. But now I've got the confidence to know that they are the spaces that I need to be in. And when I look around the room, half the time there's not people with my faces or my experience there, so I'm overqualified to be in them places. And that's the push that we need to get to, because you know, we deserve to be in them places. You know, we need to be in them spaces, and sometimes the most important conversations are the ones that are hardest to have.
Yeah, always. Absolutely. And it's always the person who puts the head above the parapet that has to do it. Thank you so much, Natasha.